Well, everybody, it's winter, so it must be time to be in Arizona. So what do Lolly and Pop do while they're in Arizona? We play tourist. As some of you know, I was a B-52 navigator during the Cold War. Well, also at that time, there were individuals called missileers. Between 1963 and 1987, there were 54 Titan missile sites spread throughout the United States, and one of them is now a museum just south of Tucson.
Little town here. There wasn't a house. These things were built in the middle of nowhere, away from people.
Seeing this no-low zone, SAC two-man policy was mandatory, sure brought back memories for me. Right after the sign were two 6,000-pound blast doors, and they are so evenly balanced that Tammy herself could actually open and close one of the doors. A Titan missile silo had 6 crew members. 2 officers were the launch control officers and 4 maintenance people to make sure that everything was in tip-top shape. Originally, it was an all-boys club, but with an act from Congress in 1977, women were allowed to be on the Titan missile crews. In 1986, this site was decommissioned, and they turned it into a museum for everybody to see. And where did they keep the launch codes? But, of course, in a red safe. Well, the very first thing the crew would do was to run through checklists to make sure that all the equipment was good, and many times it took close to 3 hours to pre-flight the missiles. The missile program was strictly defensive in nature, so it was built all underground to withstand a nuclear attack. The idea was that if the Soviets attacked us first, we would then launch our missiles. Just like the B-52 crew I was on, the missile crews practiced all the time. So what would happen is you'd be just sitting around, and all of a sudden you would hear Claxton, Claxton, Claxton.
Turn. You're going to give the deputy a countdown. 3, 2, 1, turn. When you do that, turn it clockwise to the 3 o'clock position. Hold it till I tell you to let it go. All right?
Well, after you turn the keys, it all of a sudden gets very silent, and you're watching the lights flash. And in over 30 years of service, a Titan missile was never launched against an enemy. So I guess the taunt worked. After about a 20-minute at the launch facility, it was time to go down the long walkway and look at the business end of the missile. There were actually 368 Titan II missiles built, and they were used for launching satellites, and actually most of the Gemini program used the Titan II missile. In discussion with the Soviets, we wanted to make sure that we always had one missile as a museum. Part of the agreement was that's okay if you keep the launch door halfway open. After about 30 minutes on the ground, it was time to go up above to see if there was still anything alive. The Titan system was a 3-stage rocket with liquid oxygen fuel. Part of the deal with the Russians to make sure that we could keep this missile was they said, look, we have to be able to see it at all times. So the launch doors are halfway open, and we also have a hole at the top of it so they can see by a satellite that this rocket cannot be used as a warhead. When this missile silo was built in the early 60s, there was nobody around, so there was early warning systems in case somebody would show up. So if you're ever in the Tucson area, make sure that you go to the Titan Missile Museum just south of Tucson. As we know, in today's world, we're always being watched. And what did we see? But a Google Earth car. Well, just south of Maricopa in Arizona, there are just acres and acres of cattle. So now we know where our hamburger comes from. Well, thank you very much for watching another one of Lolly and Pop's adventures. So make sure you hit the like button and tune in next month while we're at Buckskin State Park.